I'm your host, Sean Ali Moldino. So happy to be with everyone this evening. Tonight, we have a very fun special episode. We have 17 propositions that are going to be cauterized in the Texas state constitution. We have our civic right and our responsibility to go out and vote tomorrow. November 4th is election day. Joining me tonight is a very special guest, a friend of our show, Mr. Salman Bhojani. He is our state representative of District 92 in the House. And thank you so much, Salman, for joining our show tonight.
Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Yes, I know you have a very busy schedule, and we really appreciate your time. I see through a lot of the propositions, 17 of them, 10 of them are incredibly important, and I think maybe we should filter down on that. We'll also talk about the strategy around the Senate, right? District 9 currently has an empty seat with Kelly Hancock, who vacated her Senate seat. That's going to be also really important to the Senate. Let's talk about, maybe we could start with the Senate seat, the importance of that, and then we'll go through the 17 propositions. We'll filter it down to 10.
Yeah, actually, Kelly Hancock is a guy. He's our acting comptroller right now. The governor has appointed him as an acting comptroller.
Okay. Yeah. Wonderful. Okay. So let's talk about the strategy behind that. Why it's so important for us to ensure, because I believe it could flip the Senate as well, right? That seat.
It could. Right now, Kelly Hancock that was there as a Republican, and there are 3 candidates right now in the special election, and there's 1 Democrat and 2 Republicans that are running in that election. And so there is a potential to flip, because it's like a blind or jungle primary where it doesn't matter who is, or special election. It's not even a primary, it's a special election that anybody could win. And if there are 2 Republicans in the race, it's possible the Republican vote will be split, and then there will be a Democrat that may get the more votes. But the Democrat needs to get more than 50% in order to win outright. If that doesn't happen, then it goes to runoff.
Right. Okay, that's wonderful. Okay, good. So let's start with the 17 propositions. We'll start with Proposition 2, which it says no new taxes for unrealized capital gains. I think this is going to be really important. There's been the sentiment around taxing the rich, but essentially when wealthy people have gained their wealth, it's unrealized capital gains taxes. Can we talk through Prop 2?
Yeah, so Proposition 2, basically what it does, it ties a future legislature's hand that's saying that you can never tax investment profit in the future. And while somebody may be for and against it, I think it's unnecessary right now to say, okay, we're never, ever in the future, ever going to have a tax on that. If we do need to have it in the future, we'll discuss it. We'll have an ample opportunity to vote on it. But why do we need to have this thing right now? It's sort of maybe preempting things, and I don't like tying future legislatures' hands. I would not want my predecessors to tie my hands as well. The same concept goes for here. This is not saying that we are not having a tax right now. We will never have a tax. So I feel like I have voted no for it, basically.
Okay. And I think a lot of the propositions are kind of similarly designed, right? This is cauterizing and essentially saying that the legislature will not be able to tax on capital gains. Also, for the death tax, I believe, as well. We're not going to cover that, but that also.
Proposition 8 is the ban on inheritance tax.
Right.
Like I said, if you may be for or against inheritance tax, but that doesn't matter. We shouldn't be banning it forever in the future. I mean, you're changing our constitution in a meaningful way, right? So you should not just willy-nilly do it. You should be really thoughtful about it and understand both sides. And if there is a tax that somebody wants to propose, then we'll vote on it later on. Or why do we need to ban it outright right now?
Yeah, that makes sense. And also Proposition 6 does something similar. It prohibits occupation tax that collects securities. I think, the way that I saw it was, this kind of sometimes prohibits, economic function when we talk about startups and how easy it is to build and create institutions in the U.S. Especially it's in Texas. We're seeing a huge problem in California where there's just so much taxation that's happening in California. You got a state tax and a federal tax. In Texas, it's a little bit more. There's a lot more leeway, which is why we were able to build so easily and quickly, which also supports the local economy. We also have the potential of having a second stock exchange in the United States here in Dallas.
Yeah,
And I think that's going to be
absolutely.
reflective over Proposition 6. What are your thoughts there?
So Proposition 6 is exactly the same thing, that it's saying that we'll never ever have a tax on stocks or other investments or transactions in the state of Texas. And like I said, I mean, it's exactly the same thing. I don't want to tie future legislature's hands. Again, you may be for it, you may be against it. We don't need to like just preemptively do that for the future.
Yeah.
And I mean, I agree that this Texas Stock Exchange is going to be a really boon for state of Texas, and I think that's a positive sign. A lot of financial sector. I think there was an article last week that I was reading that there are more financial jobs in Texas than entire New York,
Yes.
which is really amazing. It's sort of flipped the financial capital of the country has flipped from New York to being, especially in North Texas, in fact.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's really good. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's two stories here, right? One is Salman Bhojani as the legislature, the state legislature that has the representative power of the entire District of 92 and Greater Texas and the diaspora. You are in such a diverse community of people in all walks of financial life, and then there's the Salman Bhojani who's a lawyer and a capitalist, right? How do you kind of reconcile both of those things? Because when I first saw these propositions, I actually took the opposite. I was like, oh yeah, heck yeah, I never want to be taxed on capital gains. I don't want anybody to be taxed on capital gains, and we need to keep pushing the economy forward, and prohibit taxation on future events for for non-realized capital gains taxes,
Mm.
and securities as well, because we're all investing. A lot of us are
Yeah,
investors.
yeah, sure.
And so, how do you reconcile, the Salman Bhojani as the state legislature versus Salman Bhojani as the private investor?
So as a legislator, I actually voted for sending this to the public, right, to vote in November. So
Yeah.
when I voted for this particular bill on the House floor, I voted yes for it, because I feel like, why should we, the legislature, decide this on behalf of 31 million Texans?
Yes.
Let them decide what they want to do. If they like it, then that's fine. If not, then that's okay. So that's how I voted as a legislator. But when it comes to me personally, I just feel like I said, tying anybody's hands in the future would be really, bad. What if we get into a scenario where, we don't have property taxes? Let's say we get rid of property taxes, which I would love, by the way, because our property taxes are completely out of control.
Yeah.
Let's say sales tax are not bringing in revenue.
Mhm.
And what do we do, right? And if we're saying, hey, it's a very minor tax on this that will really fund our schools,
Mm.
then there could be an argument. I'm not saying there's an argument right now. I'm just saying that there could be an argument in the future. What happened? Like, nobody thought that there would be a pandemic, right, in
Right.
our lives, but
Yeah.
we've seen that. So anything could happen. I just want the legislature to have all the tools available with the consent of the public, and
Yeah.
that's where I sort of lean on saying, let's not preemptively decide that right now. Let's decide it when we do need to decide it.
Yeah, no, this is brilliant, and I think that this is why you're such an incredible state, representative, is because you're not making the rules on behalf of the public. You're allowing the public to allow their voice to count, and your voice only counts when you go out and vote. Please go out and vote tomorrow if you haven't already done so.
Absolutely.
Let's go through the propositions as it's numbered down, because we're kind of jumping
Sure.
around a little bit.
I know, right, sure,
Prop,
sure.
Prop 3 is the denial of bail for what I would say are repeat offenders or felons of abuse. This
Mm.
is also really important because we see that in other states, that it's a revolving door, and people who have committed crimes repeatedly are able to bail out and then come back in after they've committed another crime in between their sentencing, or their day in court. And so, what do you think about Proposition 3? I think it's a really strong one.
Yeah, I think in matter of criminal jurisprudence, I feel like we should allow second chances because people do want to improve. Um, and here specifically, we're talking about somebody's constitutional right to a bail, right? You have a constitutional right to a bail.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we do not want people that commit, really violent crimes to be out there, and that is the responsibility for a judge to look at, right? And argue. The lawyers on both sides will argue, and the judge will look at: is this person a flight risk? Is this person a risk to the society? Is this person going to commit the same crime again? And then the bail will be denied. So I just feel like preemptively denying bail, because I'll give you an example. And a lot of people, when they think about this proposition, they think about the most egregious case. Now, let me give you a flip side to that.
Mhm.
Somebody that approached me a couple of months ago, they had some family issue that happened. They got into a verbal altercation, and there was a knife that was left on the kitchen countertop.
Mm.
Nobody got hurt, no sign of anything. When the police came in, they saw the knife. Because of that, it became aggravated assault.
Mm.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, that is one of the felonies that we're talking about in this proposition.
Yeah.
So if that's the case one time, and if that happens second, so if they've not been proved that they actually did anything, but just because it is on the record that there was an aggravated assault, if they get detained again, they would be denied bail. And does
Right.
that make sense? You see, I'm trying to say this. The first
Mm.
charge is not even proven yet. And
Right.
because of that, so I feel like we don't want this to happen where people are going from outside, to inside the jail and then again going back and forth again. So we want to make sure that, and if we have a constitutional right that's protected, let's give that full meaning and maybe let the judge decide what's best for the society.
Right, right. And someone maybe is it okay if I can push back on this a little bit? Because this
Yeah,
might be an
sure,
edge.
absolutely.
This is a good conversation. I think this also could be an edge case where, if, in the same similar, authority that we're giving to the judge, on one side, we say, hey, it's the judge's, call whether they convict that person of aggravated assault because there was just a knife that was on thing. If they have a lawyer, if they have good context, that the judge would be able to say, you know what, that was, you've never had a previous history of violence. That was just a weapon there, but the cops had to make a note of it. Well, I'm not gonna charge you with aggravated assault and give you a felony on your record for the rest of your life. That could also be a judge's call preemptively before, the sentencing of that. And so, how do you reconcile that part of it?
I think if this bill would have said convicted of these felonies, I would
Mhm.
have been more comfortable with that. The language of the proposition is that if that person is accused.
Oh,
Now, you
accused
and I
of, oh,
know
they're
that
not
you
convicted.
could be accused of, like I said in my example, aggravated assault.
Huh.
There was just a knife there. There was nothing else there, but the police, that's what they charged. So I'm just saying that in this time where accusations are held so loosely, they
Yeah.
should have been labeled as convicted. Yes, if you're
Right, right.
convicted of felony murder or aggravated assault or indecency with a child, that I can understand. But because it says accused, and I just felt like this is going a little bit too much more than what I would like it.
Absolutely, you could set people up, right? Like, so,
Yeah,
okay,
exactly,
yeah, yeah.
right?
Okay,
Yeah.
so if it's accused and you are recused of it, it's still on your record as you have been accused at some point in your life, and now you're
Right.
unable to ever. Wow. Okay, that changes everything. That changes everything.
Right,
So, yeah.
right. And
Okay,
that's
well,
why it's so
first,
important to read the proposition in its entirety. And it's so much legalese that I just feel like it's just not everybody will understand all those small nuances. And that's why I did a video to explain, and I can share that with you as well to see like more details about these kind of propositions. And there's 17, so it's not like there's so many of them. If there were like 5 or 6, and you could go more in detail with this.
yeah.
But that's
No,
what I'm
but I
saying.
mean,
There are a lot of proposition in this one that maybe I would think that we're not even needed, right? Because we're preemptively doing a lot of different things. Let's do things that are going to really impact our community. For example, so many millions of Texans are losing their SNAP benefit. I
yes.
would focus on that. Millions of Texans are losing their insurance coverage from affordable healthcare. So I just feel like though that's a bigger issue to worry about than saying, "Oh, we're never going to tax this." Okay, I mean, it's
Right.
good, but it's good for future. We're not. Nobody's even thinking about taxing stocks or inheritance tax. Or I'm an estate planning attorney. I would not want to tax inheritance. Yeah,
Right,
so just
exactly. Yeah, the death tax, right? Let's go to proposition, and we appreciate this time because to have these
yeah.
nuances, nobody, even a normal layman will not be able to do it unless ChatGPT kind of like really breaks it down for you. So, really glad that you're on the show and talking this through. Proposition 4 is a water fund. Why don't we talk about that?
Well, that's really important. I mean, I think a lot of people think about water and they're like, oh, yeah, water, but everything is dependent on water. Like, you're not
Absolutely.
going to have a big employer like Samsung or Tesla come to Texas if water is not a resource that their employers can rely on, or all the businesses and everything can rely on. So we have a major issue in the state of Texas where we will deplete our water sources in the next couple of decades. So we did a study to figure out what is needed to prevent and to make sure we have good supply of water. And we need to invest $50 billion in the next 50 years
Yeah.
in order to, there are three things. So we have really aging infrastructure. So what happens is like 50 gallons come from one side and only 20 gallons or 25 gallons are actually delivered. What's going on? There's a lot of leakage
Yeah.
that's it's seeping through, right? So that's really bad. So we need to correct that. Second thing is we need to find new water supplies. Is where, where else can we get water from? Because water is a really scarce resource. And then third part is just making sure that we have reuse of water. Like we have a lot of rain that comes up. Like, and city of Euless, I mean, I want to brag about them, right? They're just really amazing city
Yeah.
that they have a lot of apartment complexes on recycled water, meaning that the rainwater that comes in, they collect that, and then they have like SIP
Water
pipes and
treatment.
systems just to deliver it through all the landscaping in the apartment complexes, right? So why use city water when you can do recycled water? So I think we need to have more of those kind of things. So that's what the three things. So this particular proposition says that the citizens are okay, or residents are okay with us spending $20 billion, $1 billion every year to find these new water supplies, infrastructure, and reuse water.
Yeah, and not a joke. It's a drop in the bucket. $1 billion
Oh
is a
yeah.
drop in the bucket, and the value of water is
Mhm.
so important. I used to live or I spent a lot of time in New Mexico, and we were trying to make Albuquerque, a center for startups, and we couldn't do it because we didn't have the water resources to sustain it. And so
Yes.
it goes to exactly what you're saying, and it's extremely important. I'm sure you've had this discussion. Why is desalination not an easy resource? Is it just because of the weight of the water and transporting the
Yeah,
water?
it's just not a viable option unless that's the only way that you can get water. I mean, there's a lot of other ways that you can get, like, for example, like water from rain, right?
Mhm.
You can reuse that quite a bit. We've got a lot of lakes that are there out there. So I think a
Aquifers?
little bit more easier way to do that as opposed to desalination.
Right, right. What about aquifers? Have we talked
Yeah,
about
yeah.
that?
I mean, yeah, aquifers, and also I think with a lot of uh, maybe fracking and things like that, there's a little bit of concern where the water supply could be, contaminated with more, oil and gas and stuff as well. So that's we need to just look at, and that's where this money is going to go also in researching and finding out more aquifers and more areas, more supplies for water.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move to Proposition 12. We did talk about taxation in school districts. This limits or reduces the tax burden on the elderly and disabled as far as
11, right?
yeah,
Proposition
Proposition
11.
11. Yep.
Yeah,
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 yeah. So,
yep,
so maybe
yeah.
we
I
can talk
mean,
about that. Yeah, I think that's important.
so it is. I mean, we really need to take care of our senior citizens and people that are disabled in the community as well, because they're on a fixed income, and we want to make sure that they're. I'll give you an example. One of our constituents came to me and said that they just paid off their mortgage. It's been 30 years.
Mm,
Their mortgage payment, monthly mortgage payment, is less than their monthly tax payment today.
right.
Can you believe that?
Yeah, I
Their
can.
tax payment is as high as their mortgage payment. Like
Yeah.
this is completely blown
We
away,
bought.
right? So.
You know what's so funny is we bought in Euless 30 years ago. Our house was $135,000, and it's the
Oh, okay.
same.
Okay. So
Yeah, yeah.
applies to you as
Our
well, I'm sure,
yeah,
right? You're
yeah, yeah.
you're
I mean,
paying
thankfully
more
we
in
were able to
property
pay
taxes a
early.
month than your mortgage payment. It's just crazy.
It's crazy. It
So
makes no
what
sense.
what this Proposition 11 does, it takes the homestead exemption for seniors 65 and disabled from 10,000 to $60,000. So they'll
Wow.
get an extra homestead exemption. Obviously, that also is another proposition that increased from 40,000 or 100,000 to $140,000.
Yeah.
And this one further increases it from 10,000 to $60,000.
60,000. That's going to be
Absolutely.
helpful because I think,
Absolutely.
between you and me, because of all the infrastructure that's being built, because of the economic boom, the prices are just going to keep soaring for property in North Texas. So
Absolutely.
we're going to need to kind of be prepared for that. Proposition 12 takes accountability for the judicial court as it relates to the Texas Supreme Court. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so it just holds judges more accountable for more effectively and expanding citizen involvement, and then I think provides the governor some authority as well to regulate that and to provide more accountability for judges.
Yeah. How do you think Greg Abbott is doing on the whole as a governor?
I mean, it's a tricky topic, right? I mean, it's just I want to make sure that he signs off on my bills and works on that.
Right,
But at
right.
the end of the day, like I think we know that the state has gotten extremely more and more conservative, right? And I'm okay with conservative values. I'm not worried about that. But when you are so MAGA, when you fall off the charts in terms of right wing,
Yeah.
that diversity is looked at in a negative way.
Mm.
The community, the marginalized community, education, right? If you look at, we passed the private school vouchers.
Mhm.
Why do we need a private school voucher, especially for those who make 500% over the poverty line, which you're talking
Right.
about? Somebody can make $1 million and still get a private school
Voucher.
voucher. Why do we need that? We don't need to fund that, and it's taxpayer dollars that are funding this. So I don't believe. I mean, the basic rule of thumb is the government should not benefit private sector or
Mm.
the private business, right? And this is what we're doing here. And then when you look at like how the redistricting happened, right? Trump asked for 5 more seats in Republican in U.S. Congress so that they can hold on to their narrowest majority since the Great Depression.
Yeah.
And he said, yes, that's fine. Let's go ahead and redistrict. And that's something that I don't agree with, right?
Yeah.
That now the minority communities are fighting each other and they're being cracked and packed so that way they're never going to be able to vote their candidate of choice.
Right.
So
Right.
that doesn't make sense as well. And I'll give you a quick example. So the way President Trump won 54% of Texas.
Mhm.
But the way these maps are drawn, Trump would have won if these maps were there, 74% of US congressional seats.
Yeah.
That's 20% superficial power, artificial power that's being gerrymandering, basically, right? So it's just really, and look at what California did, right? They tried to counteract Texas, but in a very public way. They said, hey, we think this is the right way to go, but hey, you tell us. If you don't vote for this, then we're not going to do it. And
Right.
tomorrow we'll find out what Californians decide. And that's how we should be having more power to the people, because the power doesn't belong to me or Governor Abbott or our legislature. It belongs to the people of Texas, and they should come out and vote for the candidate that they prefer. And but in Texas, there's no meaningful way for Democrats to win statewide. They haven't won statewide for more than 3 decades,
Right.
right? Barbara, I think Jordan was like our for like I think last Democratic
That's good. The
governor, right? And
governor.
so I think we just haven't won statewide. So what happens is these races are decided in the Republican primary,
Hmm.
and so about 8% of Texans come out to vote in the Republican primary. So Governor Abbott and the Republican Party candidates must appease to 4.01% of Texans, which
Right.
are so extremely conservative that religious freedom, right? We talked about religious freedom. I mean, it's so important. I work on religious freedom a lot,
Yes.
but they only focus on one part of the religious freedom, which is, okay, you have the right to practice your faith. But
Mm.
the second part is the state cannot mandate a faith.
Mm.
State cannot endorse a faith. But that's what we did this session by saying, hey, 10 commandments in classrooms, right?
Right.
Or the teachers can have prayer time and students can have prayer time, Bible study, and they can encourage religion. All that it's against our Constitution.
Yeah.
So, and that is what the Republican Party is now holding on to, right? That, hey, religious freedom doesn't exist here, where it's just Christian nationalism mostly. Right? You
Mm.
saw, Vice President J.D. Vance is talking about his wife saying, hey, I wish that she converts from Hinduism to Christianity.
Christianity, yeah.
I mean, you've been married for such a long time. Now it's become an issue all of a sudden, right? So, and I just feel like this is not the right way to go about it. But there's a lot of I'm very passionate about this issue, and you sort of hit that. But there's good parts, but there's a lot more bad parts in our state where our state is not going in the right direction, according to me.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think we need to kind of take Greg Abbott's governance in 3 different categories, right? So one is his conservative agenda as it relates to his Christian values. I think the other is his ability to adapt to the diversity of the state and how that's changing. And then the third is the economy and the economics and the economic infrastructure. I think with the conservative values, he's way conservative, a little too conservative for me as well. I especially didn't enjoy when he rejected the bill for when Roe v. Wade came to the states, and he said he banned abortions. I didn't agree with that. But when it comes to diversity, I think we also need to take a little bit more accountability and ensure that our communities are coming out and voting so that we are an undeniable bloc that can change and swing elections. And that's the only way that we'll get recognized by our representatives
Yes.
at every level. So diversity is actually more so on us as well. And then also getting more involved in community and having a blueprint of how we're going to start understanding how law works, how regulation works, how policies work at the community level, and showing up to the city council meetings.
Mm.
Being more civically engaged. That's on
Yeah.
us. So I think
It's
we
on
need
us,
to.
but what the legislature did this session was they banned any DEI initiatives from K through 12 in all schools.
Mhm,
So now, if you're looking at a professor or teacher that brings a diverse perspective, maybe they have they've been through a tough time in the Holocaust. Maybe
mhm,
they're from the Jewish community, and they would be able to impart so much knowledge to our students. Oh, we shouldn't look at diversity.
mhm,
Why?
right.
Right? When you have people from diverse backgrounds sit on the decision-making table, you'll have a much fuller perspective. You'll have a much better society,
I
right? Where
agree.
you're more tolerant of each other, respectful of each other's differences, and that's where I disagree with the Republican ideology of saying, oh, let's ban all DEI. I'm not saying do diversity for the purpose just for diversity. You don't look at merits. You look at the merit, but when you have two people that are the same, one offers a more diverse perspective. I think that enriches society, right? So when you're looking at a student or your professor, even in higher ed, the state of Texas can no longer UT system can no longer look at diversity in a
Yeah.
professor or any kind of area. I think that's unfortunate because diversity is a strength and makes us much better society.
Yeah, I think diversity, tolerance, and pluralism are fundamental
Mhm.
to our
Mm.
ethics, right, and our values,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
has to be honored, right? We have to be able to bring diverse perspectives in order to grow.
But I do
Um,
agree with the economy. I mean, we're doing really well, right? I
oh
mean,
my
we're the
gosh,
eighth largest economy in the world. I mean, we
Craig
just
Abbott gets an
surpassed
A
Russia as
plus.
a country,
Yeah, yeah,
right? Just
dude,
amazing. And I
dude,
think we're
amazing.
slated to be the seventh, will beat France's economy at the end of this year.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that
yeah.
from that perspective, we're doing really well, right? But I think if you really want to focus on businesses, you need to focus on education as well. You
Yes.
need to focus on healthcare. You need to focus on the vulnerable population because nobody wants more homeless communities in their backyard, right? So you need to take care of the vulnerable communities. And so I think that's where we're lacking, but we're not going to see that in next 10 years or 20 years. It's going to be a long-term issue. And that's where I feel like, we're looking at a very short-sighted approach by saying, okay, let's stop the bleeding right now and then forget about doing long term addressing the issue.
Yeah,
We
no,
did
I
that with the
totally.
water, but then other issues were not.
Yeah, yeah, and I think the thing that we need to kind of see is the canary in the coal mine with regard to how not to become California, because I think that very soon, like you said, we're eighth, we're the eighth largest economy in the world. California is the fifth, but I think that's going to flip really soon, in the next 10 years. And so,
Indeed.
how we prepare for that boom, right, and not go through a bust cycle. Somewhere
Mm.
to like Midland, right? That they're constantly oil town, right? It's boom and bust, but for us to be able to sustain ourselves and not push all the way from, because currently we're so far right to go so far left and then have the same problems
Yeah,
as
no, it has
California.
to be in the middle, right? That's why I
Exactly.
always say, look, there's 15% on either side that make the loudest amount of noise.
Yes.
And politicians sway one way or the other. I feel the middle 70%, a lot of people don't focus on them because they're not partisan, right? They
Mm,
don't care about Republican or Democrat. They just want to get stuff done. They want to have a good education for their kids, a roof on their head, a good
mhm.
job, and a good economy. And that's what they're looking for. And I think we can provide that. And that's what I'm saying. I think by diversifying our economy with financial sectors and construction and other things, I think that's how we're continuing to fuel the Texas economy. I
Yep.
mean, we opened up a Taiwan office. The state of Texas opened a Taiwan office
Oh,
so we can have more Taiwanese companies come here and have
wow.
more trade, with Taiwan. So I think that's yielding good benefits for our state of Texas. So
That's amazing. I love it. I love it. Okay, cool. So
yeah,
let's continue on. Let's talk about Proposition 14. We talked about the elderly. We talked about
yeah.
healthcare. This kind of bridges both. Proposition 14 allows a $3 billion fund to establish what's known as the Dementia Prevention Research Fund. Um, l- Dementia is now currently known as type 3 diabetes. It is something that is impacting everybody at a much younger age, and memory challenges and issues are predominantly taking over a lot of our healthcare dollars and our healthcare spend. It's becoming a
Mm.
very expensive problem. This establishes a $3 billion fund, Proposition 14. I'm all for it. Talk to me about it.
Absolutely. I'm forward to it provides more research for Alzheimer's, dementia, and Parkinson's disease. And it's really important to research and to find out better cures for them so that we can address the aging population. My father-in-law also has, dementia, and it's really difficult. It creates a havoc on the entire family. And so I feel like, a lot of people that don't know what that means. They may not understand the plight of the people that are going through it, because it's a lot to handle for one family when one person has dementia or Alzheimer's in their
Yeah,
family.
and it's such a slow burn, right? It's a slow death,
Mm,
and
yeah.
it's just day over day. You're just seeing this person deteriorate that you love so
Mm,
much, that reminded you of the greatest days of your life, and
yeah.
now it becomes a big challenge. So we do need to create some solutions, and we need to put some scientific effort and funding behind it. All right, let's move to
Agreed.
Proposition. Let's move to Proposition 15. That talks about, it explicitly affirms that parents have decision-making power over their children uh, while they're still children. So, talk to me about Proposition 15. What the nuances are there?
I mean, this is another one of the propositions that I don't know if we need that. I mean, who's going to deny the fact that, oh, parents are the primary decision makers for the kids? It's just, I feel like there's so much money and state resources being wasted just to say the obvious. And so that's where, for that reason, I'm like, why do we need to put that there? I just don't understand. So
Is
I
it
think this is
actually a
again a
problem? Because
rhetoric.
because I think the challenge is that you're seeing a lot of these very left-leaning democratic states who are, obviously that's why we had the book banning and like all those challenges that we had, and then there's sex change reformations and all of that, and so how do we navigate that part of it? I agree with you that it's not absolutely necessary, might not be a huge problem, and that obviously the parents should have explicit rights over the decisions
Yeah.
that their children make, especially if they're under 18. If they can't get a tattoo or drink, why do you think that they can get on drugs that would change their ability to have a
I think the
sterilization?
vast majority of any, transgender care is happening with parent consent, right?
Yeah.
This is not like kids are not just thinking about, oh, they're gonna do it themselves. So that's not, I think what's happening in the reality on the ground is far from what somebody's crying wolf and saying, oh, this is what's happening. I mean, it's just, and mind you, the LGBT community in Texas is like 1% of Texas,
Mm,
right? I feel like we're trying to marginalize a community that's already hurting a lot and
mm,
is misunderstood. And it's just, I sort of make it akin to the Muslim community, right? I'm a member of the Muslim community. I feel like people don't understand my faith well,
yeah.
our faith well. And
Yes.
so I feel like because they don't understand, they marginalize Muslims,
Yeah.
especially right now. I mean, the governor has signed a bill in the legislature. Nobody talked about it as an Islamophobic bill or anti epic city bill. It was just a bill that some subdivision cannot be done and so, right?
Mm,
But when the governor signed this bill, he talks about, oh, we signed this, no Sharia law in Texas or all
right.
that, right? So it's very sort of attacking the Muslim community. So I feel like, how can I speak and say, hey, don't attack the Muslim community, and then look on the other side and say, oh, it's okay to attack the LGBT community?
Right.
Why?
I agree.
Let them
I agree.
live, let them exist in a respectful manner.
Where they're
What
safe.
somebody is doing in
Where
their
they're
bedroom,
safe.
I
Yes.
don't care. Like, I really don't care. Like, that's their business. We have privacy laws in America. If somebody is hurting somebody, that's where I draw the line, right? Or
Yeah.
if there's somebody's influencing somebody, I can understand that. But here we're just talking about, let them do what they need to do in their own home, in their own space, and not marginalize them. And that's why I feel it's sad that, I think a lot of transgender community is leaving Texas because of how the legislature is treating them and the people are treating them. Is just really unfortunate. And I feel like I look forward to a Texas that's more inclusive, that's
Yes.
tolerant of not only just other religions, but other ethnicities as well. Like, I'm from Pakistan, and just a lot
We're
of marginalization for those communities as well.
Yeah.
But I feel like we should be respecting everybody for who they are, and not making judgments for them. So that's why I feel like this is just something that's a rhetoric thing. It's not actually, there's no meaning to it, right? Everybody knows. I mean, even in the state of Texas, if you're underage, your parents are your guardian. They're your legal guardian, regardless of whatever happened. Now, if they pass away, then they're appointing a legal guardian. But that's, so this doesn't, like, it's just again rhetoric, and I don't feel like I should vote for this kind of rhetoric to put it in the Constitution on top of that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I completely understand, what it insinuates. And we have to be consistent. If we want safety for one, we have to have safety for all. right? Regardless of where,
Mm.
we lie on our personal opinions. I never want a person of Jewish faith to not feel safe in the state of
Absolutely.
Texas ever.
Yeah.
And so I have to
Yeah.
stay consistent, and that includes the LGBT AI plus community,
Yeah.
that includes Muslims, that includes Punjabis and Sikhs and eh, all types of people all around the world, right? So,
But that's the
um,
beauty about thing, right? Where even though people that you may not agree with, you want to
yes,
protect their constitutional rights. And that's why I say, even my Republican friends, I tell them, I want to protect your constitutional rights as well, which is religious freedom as well. So,
yeah,
and things that maybe your kids could become part of the community, LGBT community, and I'll still be the same person, regardless of who it is, right? So it's
yeah.
just, yeah, you can have both ways, basically.
Yeah, it goes back to, our First Amendment, which is the freedom of speech. It's not about
Yeah,
speech that you agree with. It's
right.
the idea of protecting the freedom of speech for ideas and speech that you don't agree with.
Mm,
As long
I
as it's
know.
not hurting anybody, it's
Like
not inciting violence, things of that
so
sort.
many of our brothers and sisters are detained by the ICE officials just because they had pro-Palestinian sentiments,
Mm,
right?
yep.
Pro-Palestinian doesn't mean you're anti-Semitic,
Anti-Semitic, yeah, exactly.
right? You're just saying that all the people that are being killed, in innocent lives being lost in Gaza,
Mm,
your heart aches for them, right? And that's all you're saying, that you need to make sure you want to put an end to it, especially having our funds, our taxpayer dollars going to kill those people. That is unfair. And those people now are detained. Like Marwan Maroof is one example. I mean, he's such an amazing public sort of leader in the community as well. He's detained only because he was a advocate for pro-Palestinian issues. It's really unfortunate that's
mm.
happening right now.
Yeah, yeah. We have to stay
Yeah.
consistent on both sides. So
I
I
know.
completely agree. Last one is Proposition 16, which all
Okay.
Texas voters must be U.S. citizens. I think that's a no-brainer. I think it's absolutely fair. What are your thoughts there, and what's the language?
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of like it's sort of weird, right? Like it's the same thing. Do we need to say that the sky is blue, or like it's just I think it's one of the things that I don't think I need to vote yes on. I mean,
Mhm.
again, people can, your listeners can decide what they want to do, but I just feel like we already have laws like that, if you're not a citizen, you cannot vote. It's that simple. Like, why do we need to now say that again? It's like same thing about parents being the primary decision maker, right?
But
I
do you
don't think
think
we need to say
that?
that.
But do you think that then like creates this idea around, because I think people hold on to this idea of voter fraud. Do you think that this kind of
Mhm.
solves that, or do you think it adds fuel to that fire? Right? I mean, are
Look,
we
I mean,
actually like
I
appeasing them
don't
by
have
saying,
a very strong opinion one way or the other, right? If people want to vote yes for it, I mean, I'm sure it's going to pass, right? It's not that big of a deal. I just feel like it's taking a lot of time. Voters are taking a lot of time. So many people, like the legislature took a lot of time to pass this. Instead, we could have passed something more meaningful,
right?
right?
Right.
Maybe early childhood education, talking about healthcare issues, talking about having careers in a high efficient job industry, or electricity, or all. There's so many things that you could work on.
Yeah.
Like I filed 61 bills,
Mhm.
right? There were 10,000 bills that were filed. How many passed? 900 to 1,000.
Wow.
And this is one of the bills that passed, right? So I feel like it's a waste of taxpayer dollar. Like, why are
Yeah.
we spending all this resources? And there's no vote fraud happening in Texas or anywhere in the United States, right?
Right.
It's just, this is again rhetoric that the one party wants us to believe that there's vote rigging happening.
Mhm.
It's not happening, and it could happen more in terms of paper ballots,
Mhm.
but not in electronic ballots. But they're saying now go back to paper ballots,
Oh, wow.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. There's just a lot of rhetoric that's going back and saying, oh, electronics, voting is not safe. It is very safe,
Mhm.
absolutely very safe.
Yeah.
And so, but I mean, yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter one way or the other. This is not a make or break constitutional amendment. I feel like, oh, it's okay. It is what it is, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
Yes or
no,
no?
no non-citizens are voting in Texas elections.
Yeah, yeah. The sky is blue. Good. Let's talk about the next session and what the agenda is there for you for the next Congress session that's going to be coming up here.
Well, I mean, our session is every 2 years, right? So it's going to
Mhm.
be in 2027,
Mhm.
January. And that's if I win the election in next November.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm hoping that, again, we can continue to work on religious freedom issues and making sure we celebrated the Jain community, the Zoroastrian community, the Sikh community, the Jewish community, the Hindu community at the capital. And so I feel like I want to continue building on that success and making sure that everybody's welcome to the Texas capital. It's your
Yeah.
capital. We'll have multiple days. I want to continue to focus on education. I think education is really a more important foundational. And that's one of the only constitutional requirement on a state representative is to fully fund our public schools, right? And so I want to continue working on that, making sure, especially in career and technical education, there's so much that we could do. Because look, college, even though I would tell my kids to go to college, college is not for everybody, right?
Right.
There are alternative paths to getting a good career. And some people go through career and technical education in high school and become cosmetologist or electrician or a mechanic for work. In fact, we're working with American Airlines. Next session, I'll continue to work with them. They're the largest business in my district, international hub in Fort Worth, and they're wanting more mechanics, aircraft mechanics. So we're working with junior colleges, community colleges, to see after high school, can they be trained to go back and go to the workforce immediately after couple of years in being mechanic. They don't need to get a PhD in order to work as an aircraft maintenance. So that's what we're working on. I want to work on healthcare, we work a lot on telemedicine to make sure we continue to have telemedicine. I want to continue to make healthcare more affordable for everybody, including. That's what one thing that I get from a lot of my constituents that healthcare insurance. Health insurance has gotten so expensive. Another thing is affordability for homes. Not only are homes being more less affordable, but even the insurance, the cost of insurance has gone up 6 times. That's what my constituents tell me. And so I think we need to do
the pain.
something
Yeah.
about that.
I
Right? Yeah,
feel
it's
that
so crazy. I'm paying ridiculous amount, I think 3 times the amount of money that I paid just 2 years ago, because I think my kids are also driving. And so, when you have 18-year-olds driving and, it just increases, but it's really skyrocketed. So we need to figure out what we can do to reduce that. So things like that, I think, just kitchen table issues, right? I'm not very partisan one way or the other. I just want to make sure that we appeal to masses, like 60-70% of Texans who really don't care about the party. They're just saying, let's do something for everyday American, everyday Texan. They want an opportunity to succeed and move forward with that, right? So that's what I'm trying to focus on more.
Yeah, and this is why we appreciate the work that you do, is because you're right down the middle. You listen to your constituents. You represent your constituents extremely well, and we're honored to have you as our representative.
Thank you very much.
Going back to Proposition 1, I guess it's very similar, right? When you think about the vocational program for this
Oh, yes.
possible mechanic, TSTC is looking. Is this something that would also kind of be on the back tail of that type of proposition? It would be TCC.
Absolutely. It's a really good proposition to vote on. So if you want one of the more foundational proposition, that's one of them, right? Proposition 1, which is going to really upgrade tools and skills for a lot of technical, Texas state technical colleges, basically helping train students for real world challenges and equipping, not just, talking about, what, okay. So, okay. I'm sorry, I've got a party at my home, and not a party, but just a dinner at my home that I need to go back to.
No worries. All right. Well, Salman, thank you so much for your time. You are a diamond in the rough. You are such a gem,
No,
and
thank you so
thank you
much,
for
man. Kind of you.
representing us, for bringing your time, your knowledge, your heart, your passion, and your ethics to this Texas state legislature. Salman Bhojani, HD 92. We are lucky to have you, and we hope that you get reelected, not only this next session, but every session that you decide to do this work. So
thank you, sir. It's an honor to serve you all. Really appreciate it.
I mean, you're the best. Okay.
All right.
That was
Take care,
Salman
sir.
Bhojani, everybody. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with